Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to talk about 5 more times that Doctor Who disappointed me. Now, recently I did I did a video listing 10 times that Doctor Who had disappointed me. You can check that out here. But sadly, there's been more than 10 times Doctor Who has disappointed me. So today we're going to talk about just 5 more times that somehow I was disappointed with something related to Doctor Who. Number 1 on the list is the Daleks, the original Dalek story from 1963. I did not come away from this story liking it as much as I thought I would, being the first Dalek story, the story that kind of, introduces the Daleks, got Dalek Mania started, and kind of what guaranteed Doctor Who would continue. Now, if I'd seen the Daleks perhaps as one of the early Dalek stories I saw, or perhaps if I saw it when I was younger, I'd feel differently. But I didn't see the Daleks until probably the mid-2000s, or at least all of it. I think I might have seen bits and pieces of it before that, maybe the odd episode or something that I have fragment memories of. I don't think so. I remember seeing it all the way through for the first time in the 2000s. A friend of mine gave me a burned DVD of it. And it just drags. Now, if you watch my channel a lot, you know I'm not the hugest fan of the original Daleks. It drags at 7 parts. To be fair, it's not made to be watched all at once. It was made to be watched 1 episode a week. And maybe if I attempt to watch it over the course of a few days, like maybe 1 or 2 episodes a day, I might enjoy it more. But trying to just marathon through it, it's a slog. There's definitely some padding here. The fact you can cut the Daleks down to 90 minutes and it still works, and still works effectively, is very telling that there's a lot of padding to this story. And there is. And as I've said many times on the channel, I prefer the edit, the cut down version of it, which is over here. One of my subscribers sent it to me. I have the Daleks in color. That is my preferred version of the story. The original version just... I wanted to go back and watch it for the first time, being the first Dalek story, and the Daleks being, of course, so iconic in Doctor Who. And, it would give me a chance to see more of the first Doctor's era being the second story, and I hadn't famously at the time seen much of the first Doctor era. And it did not enthuse me into want to see more of the first Doctor's era, because for the longest time, I had only seen 6, 7, 8 of his stories. Even when I first started the channel, I had only seen a little bit. His was always the era that was kind of my blind spot in Classic Who, honestly. So this did not do anything to make me want to watch more of the first Doctor's era with that slower pacing. And of course, the first Doctor in the Daleks hasn't really become the kind old man yet. He's still the very kind of grumpy old man in it. Very selfish. So yeah, I just found it a bit disappointing and underwhelming. Next on the list is Series 6 of Modern Doctor Who, Matt Smith's 2nd season. I feel like this one has not aged the best for me. First off, I found the finale to be a jumble of a lot of stuff going on. I didn't necessarily think it was the worst thing ever, but Series 6 is one of my least favorites. It has moments in it, especially the first half of the season. Series 6 is another one of those that was split into 2 sections, although unlike Series 7, they do feel like 2 halves of a whole. But I don't know. While I think the Silents are a neat concept, I feel like they aren't executed the best. A lot of the stories just aren't memorable. I did like the Astronaut 2-parter, but it raised a lot of questions, which at the time was good. I just felt like Series 6 was such a step back from Series 5, and you could tell that Moffat is just juggling so much on his plate right here that I felt like this series didn't get fine-tuned the way it should have. I can't even remember all the episodes from this. The Girl Who Waited is pretty good. I cannot remember. Like, Series 6 is just a blank spot in my mind. I guess as soon as I'm not looking at it anymore, I can't remember it. But, again, that finale is just all over the place and doesn't really tie up all the loose ends. You'd have to wait another season to really get a lot more of those tied up. You have some standout episodes and not standout. The Let's Kill That Guy is just terrible. Might have been a little more believable if we'd been introduced to Mel sooner, but since we weren't, it feels shoehorned in. Plus, the episode's just not good. Although the concept of people inside a giant robot that just going around making bad people suffer is a neat concept, but the episode doesn't come off well. Yeah, I just find Series 6 disappointing. I mean, it's not the worst in all of Doctor Who, but it hasn't aged well for me. There's only a few good episodes. I never really go back to Series 6, and that's very telling. Next on the list, and this is another reason when I talk about the difference between disappointing and thinking something's bad, because I don't think this is a bad story. We're going to talk about the Aztecs. Now, the Aztecs is good. I like the Aztecs. It's a good story. I don't know too many people who would call the Aztecs bad. It's a good story. The problem with the Aztecs is that it's made out to be like the best episode of season 1 or one of the best historicals. And I don't feel like it quite lives up to that. It's good. It's just disappointing. Sometimes, you can still enjoy something and still be a little disappointing in it. Because, maybe you watch it and you think it's going to be here and it turns out just being here. And say average is here. It's still here. It's still above average. I think the Aztecs is a good B-level story. I enjoy it. Jacqueline Hill is putting in a great performance in it as Barbara. I think Hartnell's doing a good job as the Doctor. I feel like William's doing a good job as Ian. I like the guest cast, like the Sacrifice guy. I like the Sacrifice guy. The guy who plays Ash in Calling in Space. He's great. I like the set design a lot. I like the costumes. For some reason, it just doesn't quite live up to some of the other historicals I like. Like, I prefer the Reign of Terror, for example. And I know a lot of other people would place the Aztecs over the Reign of Terror. But I like the Reign of Terror better. I like the Romans better. And so it's good without being great. So I remember the first time I watched it, I liked it. But I didn't just love it. I didn't think it was A tier or S tier the way some people do. So I did find it a little disappointing. Much less disappointing than some of the other stuff that I talked about on this list and the first list. But still a little disappointing because it didn't quite live up to that hype I had heard about it. Next on the list is Mind Warp. Now, I expect a lot with an episode with Brian Blessed in it. And I do love the fact Brian Blessed's in it. And especially an episode bringing Syl back, because I love Syl. Syl's great. And Syl's still good in this story, too. The guy who plays him's good. I just don't get into Mind Warp. The little half dog guy doesn't do much for me. I don't like the ending with Perry. I'm so happy that got retconned. Oh, I'm so happy that got retconned. Now, I remember watching this, even before the box set had come out. I'd seen all the Trial of the Time Lord before. I think I saw it back when it was on Disney, because I didn't have the DVD box set. I think I saw it, not Disney, Netflix maybe. I saw it somewhere. I don't remember where, but I knew I'd seen all of Trial of the Time Lord before. And I don't know, for some reason I find it underwhelming. I really hate that ending with Perry a lot. I did not want Perry to go out, because it feels like it would just completely invalidate Caves for her to go out like that. So I'm glad they retconned that to where she survived and it was just a Matrix lie. I was happy about that. But I just don't get into Mind Warp. It has a couple things I like. The fact that the Doctor and Perry get on fairly well in it, that Syl is back, that Brian Blessed's there. Also, the special effects when they're outside with the sky and everything is pretty impressive. But yeah, just as a story standpoint, it's easily my least favorite of Trial of a Time Lord, and one of my least favorite classic Doctor Who stories. Very disappointing. And then the last one we'll talk about is Dark Water and Death in Heaven, the series finale for Series 8. It's just okay. Series 8 is the very definition of mixed bag, because you have high highs and low lows with it. I mean, it's really hard to rank the Capaldi era because of the mixed bag nature of its seasons. But on one hand, you have Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline, which are phenomenal pieces of Doctor Who. Two of the best episodes to come out of the modern series. I love them both. But on the other hand, you have Kill the Moon, which is quite possibly the worst episode of Doctor Who ever made, and in The Forest of the Night, which is also pretty terrible, and The Caretaker, which I don't care for. Plus you have Danny Pink. I don't like Danny Pink. I just don't like Danny Pink. Nothing against the actor playing him, although he doesn't really impress me either. I never buy the relationship between him and Clara. They have no chemistry. No chemistry. I don't buy it between them at all. I just don't like Danny Pink as a character. So I never care when he gets killed. I never care that Clara's upset. I never care that Clara is going through absurd lengths for the Doctor to save him because he's a time traveler. The bit about throwing the keys in, I don't care. The Missy reveal as the Master, I had already called and seen coming, to be honest. I figured that. Missy, Mistress, Master. I had put that together. Now, Michelle Gomez is great. Let me be clear. Michelle Gomez is great in the role. One of the best people to ever play a version of the Master. She's really good. And she's so much fun. She's like an evil Mary Poppins, and I love it. And her and Capaldi have really good chemistry together. They're one of the great Doctor-Master duos. I don't like Clara in the two-parter at all. I don't like that, once again, the Cybermen are just made a generic army. You could put any kind of army there. It doesn't have to be the Cybermen. I don't like that. The bit about the Cyber Brig doesn't bother me like it does some people. It's fine. They did that. I understand the reasoning behind it, and they did it as a nice homage or a nice nod to Nicholas, and I respect that. So it doesn't bother me like it does some people. I still find the ending uninteresting and how Missy teleports away. I just don't get into it. I don't think it's garbage. I just think it's boring and uninteresting. I don't have fun watching it. I get bored watching it. It's just not that good to me. I don't think it's bad. It just can't keep my attention, if that makes sense. So, not even quite middle of the road. I'm D tier, E tier, but not F tier or G tier. Usually if I rank, I go from like God or S tier to G tier. And it'd be more in the D or E range. So just a bit disappointing, even though, especially coming off a couple episodes I'd liked with Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline, which I thought were fantastic. So that's another 5 times Doctor Who disappointed me. I want to know what you think of the ones I've talked about today. Comment down below and let's talk about it. If you didn't see one on the list that you might have thought you would have seen on the list, check out the first part up there. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons: Colin Coney, Sam Venning, Unknown289, Finn Perkins, and Paul Gibbons. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's very much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. I love getting fan mail. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is down there in the description as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching.